My guest tonight in Los Angeles, TV editor for Variety, Michael Schneider, joins us. Michael, welcome back to the Loop, buddy. I missed you.
Kimbo!
Oh. Are you a convert? Like, are you a Kimbo fan, or do you miss him being in the backyards repositioning people's eyes?
What can I say? It's finally a mixed martial arts show that both me and my mom can watch together since it's on CBS. So it's the family.
I'm glad the Schneiders are bonding over the blood pouring.
Exactly.
Obviously, we're talking about mixed martial arts entering prime time. This weekend, it was a huge, I think, success for CBS. But people are saying, is this good for the sport, Michael, that it's on network television now?
Well,
I mean, how could it be bad?
Yeah, at some point, I mean, everything has to grow, right? That's the whole point of having a business to begin with. And this brought it to a more mainstream audience than has ever seen it before. And that will filter back to the pay-per-view. That'll filter back to just the franchise in general. So I don't know how it hurt MMA. The big question is, does it hurt CBS and its reputation? And that's sort of, another question.
Well, let's ask that question. I mean, you pretty much did. If you'd like to answer it, I'm game. Because I was just at...
Do you want me to just handle this interview by myself, actually?
If you've got it. Yeah, actually, I got a thing. So if you could just take care of it.
So, Schneider, what do you think? Well, honestly, I can see the argument that it's sort of impacting CBS's reputation as the Tiffany network a bit, but it is on Saturday nights where up until now CBS was airing repeats anyway, so kind of, I don't think it really hurt them in terms of what they normally air there, but it's helping them in terms of bringing some young male viewers to the network, and that's sort of every network it desperately wants more young men. It's not unlike Olivia, to tell you the truth, and to that degree they actually succeeded. And their hope is it'll filter to the rest of the network. It's it's only 4 times a year. It's there's been a lot made about it, but
right. But Michael, now some people are asking, can networks even handle MMA? Because people are saying the fights were stopped early, maybe because they were getting too bloody or too aggressive.
Well, it was the first time on CBS, so I think they definitely put kids' gloves on, and definitely, you can't do some things that you can do in pay-per-view. It's still the broadcast network. It's still the public airwaves, so there's a limit.
Although it's funny, you mentioned kid gloves, and I'm like, yeah, I think they did, and yet the footage we're showing is of a guy's cauliflowered ear getting burst wide open and taking several elbows to the forehead.
That was pretty sweet, wasn't it?
It is pretty interesting to see that on network television.
Yeah. And you know what, by the way, I mean, granted it's a little more scripted, the WWE, but we've seen the WWE on broadcast television for a decade now. So that kind of paved the way, to tell you the truth. And
I'll let you get in the ring and compare what Kimbo Slice does to WWE right to his face. That is something I would tune in for on pay-per-view.
He's a pussycat. He's a sweet.
He's a teddy bear, as they love to say.
Yeah, his name is Kimbo Slice. Come on.
Really. Do you think MMA could be getting more backlash or bans against the sport now that it's on network? Maybe it's raising some eyebrows and getting some viewers that hadn't caught on before?
I tell you what, it is an election year, and in election years, politicians love to pick up, the topic, content more than anything else, because it's an easy, thing to go out there and sort of rail against. So I wouldn't be surprised if
well, John McCain called this human cockfighting.
Which, by the way, John McCain ought to be hired as their head of marketing over there at MMA. That's the coolest thing I've heard in a while.
That would have, my TiVo clearly would have picked that up off my recommendations.
I was going to say, well, I'm not even going to go there.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The main event on Saturday obviously was a Kimbo Slice fight. You started off the interview proclaiming, his name. You're obviously a fan. I know a lot of casual viewers.
He's very refreshing, by the way, too.
A lot of people like Kimbo because he's a brawler, right? I mean, he made his start on YouTube and beating up people in their backyards.
He's a street fighter. Yeah.
But and granted, I'll give him credit for training. I know he's with Boss Root, and he's trying to actually learn the sport and the style of MMA, get a better ground game. But a lot of followers are saying this is bad for the sport's image. The fact that a lot of attention is being poured on Kimbo, he's the main event, and he's really just a brawler. Do you think he's going to do the MMA image more harm than good?
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, I don't think he's sort of going into Tyson category, sort of, for example. But I think ultimately, if you want to expand the sport once again and expand the brand, the franchise, you need sort of a big, larger-than-life sort of character, or a person who's sort of everyone's entry point to the sport. And in this case, a lot of people hadn't heard of MMA until they heard of Kimbo Slice. And part of it's because of that wild name, to tell you the truth. I want to know more about Kimbo Slice. And he sounds so cute and yet so evil at the same time.
I would let him date my daughter.
Why not?
All right, so Michael, final word. Is CBS going to do this? I know you said like 4 times a year, but do you think this is going to become a Saturday ritual for them? Is this going to be once a week?
I don't know about once a week, but I think they'll definitely do a little bit more. There's rumors of other networks sort of looking at sort of other kinds of extreme fighting sports as well. So this isn't the last you've seen of it on broadcast TV.
I can't wait for Segway jousting. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Michael, thanks for stopping by. Always appreciate your time. Thanks for keeping us in the loop. Right now, let's go over to Olivia, who will punch you in the face if you look at her the wrong way. I'm serious.
You know it. It worked for Ford with the Mustang and